Hey, what's going on, guys? Just wanted to come on here really quick and fill you in on this mistake that I said during the podcast. We were talking about the 508 trip that we just went to and how there was an event where full-size rigs got to go onto the motocross track, and I was talking about a fuel that one of the racers was using, and my dumbass decided to call it methane instead of methanol. So yes, give it a few minutes. I'm going to say it a few times. Please ignore it. It was a mind slip. I've just kept thinking meth and not finishing the word in my own brain. So give it a few seconds. Luke will clear it up. Just want to put a little preface about it so that way you guys were like, God, this guy is a fucking moron. But enjoy the episode.
Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 92. I'm here with Cody and Luke today. We're going to do a shorter one, I think, because we're all sort of out of whack as we were prepping for this Rouse trip. But we actually have some pretty cool shit to talk about, I think. Sunday of last week, we went to 508. It was a group of people were invited by, I don't know, I think, was it Adam and Greenleaf who set that up? Or was it Adam?
It was... So pretty much, I believe it was Adam, which is the owner of Built for the East. And he pretty much, I guess,
podcast.
Correct, which was a great episode. So if you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go check it out. But pretty much he went to the owner and said, hey, can I rent the track out? We have a few racers that would be really interested in running their full-size rigs on a motocross track because they really don't, like, as much as they do jump their rigs in the races that they do, I don't think they spend all that much time on an actual, like, dirt course like that. I know some of, like, the flat track stuff, but nothing with, like, full-size jumps. And pretty much the owner said, well, instead of that, we'll just split up the open event, or it's like a practice day pretty much, to half racers and half buggies. And it turned out really fucking fun. It was really cool.
Yeah, I'm super glad we decided to go. Because I know my Jeep was not ready, and Colin didn't really have a ton of motivation to go because of his whole trailer truck situation. So he was sort of relying on whether I was going to go or not. And I've obviously been busy with this green thing that the deadline is slowly encroaching, but you going, Cody, and we talked about this, was like the only reason I was like, yeah, let's fucking just go and see what it's about, was because you were going to be there doing camera stuff. And I was like, shit, well, Colin, put your trailer and let's, or we don't even need to put it on the trailer. It was on the trailer. You'd think it was a whole ordeal to get that thing loaded because we left so friggin' late.
What trailer did you end up actually taking?
His.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, we loaded it on his it was already on his trailer, it just wasn't strapped down. The tire was flat. He really hasn't touched it since Badlands. Literally nothing. I don't think he did anything. We filled the tire up and got that all sorted out. And of course, we planned on leaving at 8, 9, I don't know. And we didn't end up leaving till 10. It was bad. Fortunately, it's actually a pretty close spot to us versus most other places, so we weren't.
Yeah, it's only, what, 45 minutes out or so?
Like 50, 55.
Oh, that ain't bad at all. No. Shit.
So, how big was the track? Because I've seen some pictures and some videos about it, but, like, I don't actually have a good scale on it.
So I would say for the Razors, you're probably looking at a solid minute and 20 seconds lap time, and then with the full-size rigs, probably looking at about a minute and 40.
Really
roughly.
Quick?
Yeah, I'd say they were that quick. I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, I can kind of, we might as well explain what 508 even is. 508 is pretty much a private-owned area in Massachusetts that kind of is doing like a mini Windrock idea where it's just like an adventure park. So they have motocross, they have like man-made rock crawling, they have trails, they have mini bike sections, they have a few other things, and they open it up for mostly motocross and razors. And then obviously the Jeeps can come and rock crawl on the man-made stuff. But it's a pretty sick course. it was probably like 6 decently sized tabletops. There was like 3 doubles, few step downs, few step ups. But the cool part was there was triples, but they weren't like the typical do or die triples. They were like the tabletop triples. So the full size trucks could like kind of build up how far they wanted to jump to see if they could clear it. I mean, Capalto was landing to flat on some of them, and they were pretty big triples.
Mm-hmm.
It was
talking like a 4 or 5 foot, like washout in between them, or like area, or what?
Yeah, I'd say it was about a 4.5 foot like valley between the two takeoffs, like between the takeoff and landing and whatnot. So it was cool. It was really, really cool. And I'm happy you guys went, because getting to see Colin actually go fast with his Jeep, which is something, if you don't know Colin, he loves to do, even though he only rock crawls with it, really
capable of it too. I don't know. Every time he hit one of those jumps, I cringed.
But you cringed because you knew what was holding it together, not because of how the vehicle was.
No, it was fucking. It was doing well. It was doing really well. I was surprised. I think everybody was, just based on people's reactions to the thing. Like, right? It's kind of an unassuming little piece of shit, and I mean, he's a good driver, and especially in that sort of situation, right? He's got the bike experience from BMX, I think, or something.
Downhill mountain biking.
Downhill,
yeah, something like that. I don't know anything about biking, but
it's okay.
Yeah, it was impressive, right? And everybody was impressive, and I mean, granted, Greenleaf's and Capaldo's rig with more power and all that are way more capable of pulling off those jumps and stuff with the big motors and whatnot. But it was so cool to see Colin pretty much boot at least that first section, or I guess the end section, if you're thinking about it that way. We couldn't see much else, right? There were a few other little spots, Cody. I'm not sure what you could see.
Yeah, they're so sadly, because of like, I mean, it's a motocross track. Like, it's literally 180-degree corners to takeoffs. Like, so a 4-liter Jeep is really not putting down the power necessary. But in a few of those straight sections, he was booking along. But it was pretty cool to see the difference of, like, really, really see the difference of why a V8 is so necessary in a situation like that. Like, there was a really cool deep bowl corner. It's probably about like a 200-foot hill that was like, it was the lip of like a tabletop. And Colin could barely get enough speed to even catch air off of that. But then you'd have like full-size rigs like Capalto's. And I'm probably going to use Capalto's as a good reference, or Greenleaf's, just simply because I don't know any of the other drivers, so I can't really explain their rigs very well. But these guys are able to actually like put the power to the ground and get the wheel speed enough to even go up it fast enough to jump it. But it was fucking cool. I have yet to ever see a full-size rig like that actually catch air, or like 424 cam or 242 cam. I forget. Yeah, 424 cam, I think is his name. That thing is rowdy on the USD stickies. That dude is nuts.
Isn't that thing putting down like 800 horsepower or 900 horsepower? It's up there before he even gets on the bottle.
It's something aggressive in the, like, and not to mention, actually, this is something that we talked about bringing up, but fuck it. That thing's on methane. Like, it's literally running on, no, not methane. Yeah, methane, right?
And yeah, we talked about that. Just, the methane, it wasn't really about I guess it was about the fuel. It was about running colder on methane versus regular gas or 93.
Alcohol was the topic of conversation for that.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
But something that was brought up was, like, there was not a single ambulance or fire truck there. None of the flaggers had fire extinguishers. And they had Cam running around and running on methane. And like, I was sitting next to this like really nice old lady. She's probably only like 60 something. So sorry for the people if you're older. But I just told them, like, hey, just in case, if that thing catches on fire, don't go near it. I was like, it is not going to be a fun time. She's like, why? What do you mean? I like had to explain to her how much more volatile methane is compared to other like fuels. And it was pretty hysterical. But that thing, goddamn, that thing's loud and it fucking moves.
Methanol. Not
Methanol. Thank you. Fuck.
Methane. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was wondering. I was thinking like that's kind of a
farts.
Damn, you really won't let me go that long saying methane, you motherfucker.
I had to go and double check it because it didn't sound right, and my brain could not. Every time you said it, the switches were like failing to make the connection, and like, yeah, it didn't sound right. But yeah, what the fuck? Okay,
yeah,
moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesus Christ, I was total break because in my head I'm still thinking I'm like meth. I'm like, oh, methane. But no, you're absolutely right, Graham. That's like farts. Like, god damn it. But yeah, methanol is not a fuel to fuck around with, and he was just out there having a grand old fucking time. He ended up landing to flat. He broke something. Pretty much. The ignition cut. And then it broke the starter, so he was literally just stuck in the middle of the track with a broken starter and something else. I think it was like either his ignition or something of the sort broke as well. It was pretty hysterical.
When you say broke to flat, what do you mean on that? Like,
well,
he cleared.
He landed to flat. So pretty much he cleared the landing and then landed down onto like where you're supposed to be driving almost.
That's crazy. That's a lot of momentum.
Yeah, it was sick though. The coolest part to me really was like the steering that a Razor had to do was like 180 to 180, or I guess 90 to 90, pretty much. Where the full size Jeep guys had to they were working the wheel to get these things around the corners. It was cool.
Yeah, I wonder if that's partially because of the wheelbase on those things too, right? Yeah, they got to just be able to turn, even with, if you put them with the same steering. Sorry, every time I talk, my phone is ringing.
Yeah, it was.
That's the second time. But every time, right? Sorry, not every time. You think of Greenleaf's rig or Capaldo's rig or any of those full size things, you've got like at least double the length on a Razor or a side-by-side of any kind. So they probably just have less they need to do anyways, right? The steering is turning a bunch, but they also don't have to move, or the pivot point is much smaller, I guess is what I'm trying to say there, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yes and no. Like their steering is literally limited to full right, like fully to the right is 3 o'clock, fully to the left is 9 o'clock. Like that's the full mobility. I'm pretty sure it might be a little bit more. It might be towards.
I think it's more than that on some of them. Like I know that the guys that are running down here have like a full rotation of wheel, but a lot of them are running hydro, so I don't know.
On a Razor running hydro.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay. I mean, I don't know. On like the Razor that I drove, it was a 1000 turbo limit. Like it was. I mean, it might have been a little bit more than 3, maybe 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock, or 8 o'clock. Pardon me. But it wasn't anything like a full size rig where you're doing 3 full rotations to get it to lock. But yeah, that shit. I'm down. I want to get a Razor and just shred on a track. That'd be so sick.
Yeah, well,
cool. I think that they're also running a really high ratio steering in there, so.
Correct.
I would know. Never driven one. They look fun though. Downside is to actually do fun things with them, you need to buy like the most expensive one, and then you need to put expensive parts in it on top of that. So
I don't know, dude. You saw that guy out there in the General, which is like a farm rated vehicle. They're not supposed to be on track. This dude was full sending the jumps in the General. It was impressive.
It didn't look like it. It had the factory roll bar in it, or whatever that is, if you can even call it a roll bar.
That's okay. It holds 2 times the vehicle's weight, or crush is like 3 times, but like using, I think it's 2 times.
That couldn't have been stock suspension and wheels on it though.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, dude. He was shredding a stock rig and hammering on the thing. It was sick.
It would be kind of cool to have Herlock back on and maybe someone else to talk about building Razors for different stuff like KOH. And,
well, I mean, we sort of have, right? But I don't know. That definitely piqued my interest more after like actually seeing them do things. It's one thing to talk about it and like see videos and like uh, pictures and whatnot, but it's another thing to actually see that shit. Like we just don't have a lot of exposure to that out here. Very limited places you can really do that sort of stuff with a razor or a full size rig or anything really.
Yes and no, because you can hit the national forest in New Hampshire and Maine with them, but only certain ones. Like if you go with an X3, which is the Can-Am, if you go with the full, like the big one, like the XRS Can or X3 or something, or XR, whatever it is, I don't know for a fact, so I'm just gonna talk bullshit if I try to guess it. But I do know that it's over the width minimum that you can have up there. So you have to like pick and choose what you want to do. If you want one that has a wider width, which is better for the track, well, I guess you can't really run it in the woods. But you are right. We don't really in Massachusetts, no.
No. Yeah.
Connecticut's the same way. They don't really have anything up there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Connecticut. There's no space for anything.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't even know if you can run them at Roush.
No, I don't think you can. Wait a second.
No, I don't think.
No, you're right.
I don't think
I've
ever seen one out there. Not that we go.
I think you can run dirt bikes there, but I don't know about what else. And I know you can run Jeeps there.
Yeah,
no shit.
That for sure.
Well, but yeah.
If we do have somebody on though, I want to get somebody that has the Yamaha version. I don't know what Yamaha's razor is called, and it's not even, it's a side by side. We're gonna keep calling them razors just as like a band-aid, but whatever Yamaha's side by side is, the coolest fucking part to me about it is they actually have to shift gears in the Yamaha. It's a oh fuck me, I'm totally forgetting the name of it. Their street bike motor. No, their street bike motor is an R1, so it's out of an R1, which is a leader bike, and they're fast as fuck in a street bike. So I can only imagine with a bit more grip. Yeah, it's a little bit more weight, but you're also, I mean, the traction pad difference from a street bike to a razor, or pardon me, side by side, has to be insane. But like all the other guys, they're just putting their foot to the ground, and it's a clutch system for a transmission. Where the guy, the Yamaha, is banging gears. He had a handbrake and everything. The one guy that was there, it was sick.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. He did blow it up.
Was that the blue one, or was that
no? So there was a blue one there. Yes, there was a blue one, but the main one that would have caught your eye was orange. He was the one that was going nuts.
Those are the guys they had. I totally forget, what crew they were, but they had a bunch of different. They were all orange. Everything was red orange.
Yeah, their race buggy was really, really, really well done as well. They had everything they had was matching, and it was fucking sick. But their full size race buggy was easily clearing every jump, and he was keeping up with. There was a guy there with a turboed TJ, I think it was, and. Dude, it was, I don't know, every time I try to like describe it, just comes out, that was sick.
Well, the thing that's really cool to me about them is that they're putting down like 200 horsepower on some of the bigger ones of those, and you're talking about like 2,000 pounds maybe,
roughly. Yeah,
that's like, to get the same horsepower to weight in my rig, you're talking, I mean, it's over double the horsepower to weight ratio. It's crazy. You're talking very healthy V8 territory to get to that point. Like 500-ish horsepower in a rig our size.
Roughly. Not even. Actually, honestly, I'd say more. Because well, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot to do with the suspension and how it... Because obviously it's IRS, so it's gonna change. No, IRS because it's the rear.
Oh.
I knew what I was saying.
Yep.
But the power to delivery, or the delivery of the power, I don't know what the fuck you want me to say. Probably has to do something to do with it, because they were like, let's say you were to put Cam and a Razor side by side. Personally, I would say that the Razor is gonna take off way quicker. So, but then you have to worry about tire size difference too. I don't know, Luke. I was trying to make an analogy to make your sentence work, but I'm fucking coming up with nothing.
I think it's just totally different. I mean,
yeah.
I was just making a comment about the insanity of the amount of power that those things have for what they weigh. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, can we just talk about one thing? There was these single-seater ones, and they sounded like shit. Hot garbage. I don't know why they sounded so bad. Like, I swear to God, I've heard lawnmowers that sound better.
It's all that exhaust flow, right? They just needed the exhaust to clear, so there was no muffler. Or
I mean, I agree.
It's weight reduction.
Yeah,
it has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do agree. I think you're absolutely right with the airflow or exhaust flow. But goddamn, put a goddamn baffle on that thing. Fuck it. At least make it sound good. Because if you're gonna suck, you might as well sound good sucking. Oh fuck me, that was a disgusting sentence. God,
flip that.
I don't know. Those little single-seater ones are pretty funny to watch. They're just goofy looking, right? I don't know. There's probably less. Obviously, there's less weight on them. I don't know. They had a bunch of cage work on them at least. And I'm not a big fan of a single seater. Like, is that the thing? You don't?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not like a chassis that they put on top. That's an actual thing.
Pro 1 or Razor. Hold on, I'd have to
Razor 1.
Yeah.
So, how are the Ultra 4 cars doing out there?
Better than, it's RS1. Sorry, is the single seater.
Gotcha.
Better than I expected. I thought they were going to have commitment issues because it's it's a slim track. They were probably only working with 8 feet of room on each side of their rig, and the landing zones to the corners were not what you would expect for like a full-sized vehicle. But putting that into the regards of it, they did great. Like, I was very well impressed.
Yeah, I think it definitely took a minute. Like, I feel like the first people got better at running that course for sure. Because I remember when we first got there, we were watching them go, or maybe it was we got there and then they started running. But like people totally missing the track after landing the jumper being like half on, and that happened throughout the day. It's a small course for some pretty wide rigs, but right by the end I didn't see as much of that. Right, the corners sucked. You saw those the flying mattresses, that's as we were all calling them, and that red truck and a couple other rigs just totally miss that corner and just go over the berm. Or get stuck on the berm.
I think they were called doodle bugs, I think is what they were called.
Really?
Yeah, it was okay, dude. I almost forgot to talk about them. So there was like 4 vehicles that were all similar, that were all leaf spring. They had like 2 shocks on each corner. They actually jumped the jumps, which I didn't think some of them would. But yeah, I think Adam called the races that they did called Doodle Bugs, which was normally that can't be. Doodle Bugs is a different racing thing.
I'm looking that up to try to help you here.
But it was an event that used to go on in New England, Massachusetts area, and these guys would do like flat tracks with them. It wasn't circle track, but there was very small jumps with it. And I guess the racing style just closed down, so they don't really get to do it very much. So those guys heard that there was a moto track that was open and letting people go out there and shred, and they just hopped on in. And you could tell these guys really knew kind of what they were doing. Like, as they were entering into corners and exiting corners, well, except for the few that stuffed them over the berms, but it's besides the point. But like, they were keeping them open, so you knew that they knew something more than us. Where like all of these guys are running locked front, locked rear, and it was really cool because I'm so used to like anytime I see like leaf springs come off the ground, they end up bending, breaking, flipping a shackle, like doing something stupid. So it's pretty cool to actually see them working well.
No, I mean they were pretty dialed, and you didn't see them. I wasn't. Maybe they did, and I just didn't see it. But you didn't see the suspension bounce, right? Like Colin's. So that's a horrible way of describing it. But when Colin would overshoot something or didn't hit something right, he would, his rear end would be not out of control, but it would bounce a little bit extra. I didn't see any of those guys really do that. Right? It looked like it was a pretty soft leaf.
Yeah. You're actually right.
Yeah, they was all those things stayed really stable and they were dialed more than anything for a leaf spring suspension like that, front and rear.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the ride quality, but I don't know. I've never seen a rig like that.
I think when you're out there having that much fun, you don't really give a shit about the ride quality.
No, I don't think
it's just a bouncy mess and you just get used to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't. They weren't bouncy messes. Like, they were actually holding their own suspension-wise. And, I mean, you really can. If you get a good leaf spring and dial it all in, you for sure can get a decent ride.
Lots of small leaf springs really helps to dial in a suspension.
They weren't even running that many. It was just like...
Really?
Yeah.
Real low leaf count in the packs. I was trying to, like, take a look at them when they were jumping and stuff to see what the leaf packs were, and they were soft, and they were pretty flat.
Lou, quick question for you, bud. Back when you had your ZJ sitting at a specific shop, we're not going to name names, did they have a red Ford pickup that they used to race?
No.
Okay, so the red Ford pickup in question did have one of his stickers on it, so I didn't know, and I was going to be able to try to like describe it the best I could to you if you had recognized it, but
never mind on that. Pickup?
Yeah, the red pickup. Yeah, it was a Ford.
Oh, I don't know. Just red pick 'em up.
Oh, what were they? They were like Pro Course or something, Rangers. Is that what you're talking about?
No, so that was another topic that Adam and I spoke about. Was there was Rangers that they used to, like, it was like the Ultra 4 guys from out this way. Instead of racing their Ultra 4 trucks, they would build Rangers to race them. But no, it wasn't one of those styles. This guy actually really cool. He had one of these scissor front axles that Ford made. I don't know. I forget what the name of them are.
Beam.
Yep.
Yeah, he had one of those, and he was running fucking leaf springs jumping the thing. It was sick.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah, but didn't those have Dana 30s in the front of them?
Yeah, the Rangers could have them, yeah, or they could have a Dana 35 in the Explorers.
Oh, maybe it was a Dana 35 in those in the front.
Or if it was like a 150 or a 250 chassis, it would be either a 44 or a 50.
And for clarification, the 35 is the TTB axle, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a 35 TTB, not 35 rear axle that you see in Cherokees.
No. This was a twin traction beam front. So, but yeah, dude, that was so fucking cool to see those guys out there shredding. If they have another one, I will absolutely be there.
One of these days, if I can ever get a hold of the guy, there is someone that was, he goes by the username of like 96 Vet Boy or something like that. I'm trying to find
Sounds
him
familiar.
again.
It sounds like a
built
pirate guy, right?
Yeah, pirate guy. He built the wildest New England like mini Ultra 4 car. It was I think he ended up on a Dana 35 in the beginning and then swapped it to a 44 twin traction beam with a Ford 3.0 high output in there on like 35 and 37 stickies for doing like jumps and short course stuff like this, but also for a wheeler. Really cool, like mini Ultra 4 buggy.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got a soft spot for those TTB axles. Like they're kind of dumb and they're not that strong. I don't. Maybe I'm speaking out of my ass. I've never run one, and I haven't known anybody who has to know if they're good or not. But it's just a cool concept, right? At the very least.
It's a cool concept, and I know that they're very popular with the desert guys because you can run them with coilovers and get insane travel out of them.
Yeah.
And with the way that they're built, I really think if you were to run something like a 50 TTB front, you could actually get some decent strength out of it for what it is and in an IRS or IFS position.
Yeah, I know there's plating and stuff that happens, and that U-joint right in the middle of that the pivot point kind of gives me anxiety, but I'm sure there's
I know that
people who
RCV makes
strengthened them up
shafts.
for it.
What?
Yes.
Huh.
No shot.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
That's now you got to do it, Graham.
I gotta
Get in
fact
there,
check
buddy.
you. I don't want a TTP front axle. Fuck that.
Yeah,
I've
dude,
already
go
got.
fast.
I just put the 05 in. I'm not changing it.
Lame.
We'll make Jacob do it.
Yeah,
which means it'll never happen.
Dang
Poor
it.
Jacob.
Yep. Ford Ultimate Ford TTB CVs from Lethal Performance by RCV.
How much?
Well,
15.
About 2,500 or so.
Okay.
God. Oh,
It's a little more than I
Jesus.
expected, but I guess it makes sense. How does it?
Have you
How do they
got-
do that? Is it a? I'm trying to think of what the shafts are like in that thing, because the housing is on the driver's side, and then there's a U-joint right out of the passenger side shaft spot, right? And then it goes to
how
another.
it looks. There is one side with a standard looking shaft, it goes right into your pumpkin and then into your steering knuckle. The other side has two bell ends on it with what looks like a slip joint to give it the travel.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
It's kind of cool. I'm not gonna I mean, I don't want anything to do with this, and it's kind of hurting to look at, but it's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think they lasted very long, or not that they didn't last long, but they weren't very popular when they were a thing.
No.
So there are not many of them.
They're not the best as far as a truck front end.
No.
They have constant caster, camber, every kind of problem, ball joints.
Who would have thought?
And
Yeah.
they're one of the few front suspensions that's IFS that I know of that gets death wobble, which, that's cool. Like, that's a
I didn't even think about that.
Tone.
Well, do they
run a standard style.
they run a standard track bar?
Steering.
No way.
No, not a track bar. Standard style of steering with like a Y-link.
How?
You've got one that goes from, or you've got your.
Well, I guess in a normal
goes,
truck application, it wouldn't matter. That would be some weird steering feel, though. I feel like that would be odd.
My aunt had one under her. What was it? It was one of the early Power Strokes, and it was weird.
I feel like any suspension movement would make the steering do some odd things.
Not as bad as you would expect, but it did feel weird. That was the farm truck for a while, and then she had the other 7.3 with the 6-speed. I think I've talked about it on here before, but that one had the standard Dana 50 solid front axle, and it was much better feeling to drive that truck around than it was to drive the twin traction beam around.
Mm.
In my mind.
That makes sense to me. Right, I do miss the GMC's IFS.
So,
that stuff, that's tight. That's a really tight suspension setup compared to the fucking crap I'm driving now, right? Notorious.
Yeah.
Dodge front end.
Yeah, notorious front end issues with those things. It's not horrible, but that's not as good as the GMC's.
I don't know. I hate how they react in 4-wheel drive personally when you're like going over go through a bumpy road or something. Like when we take our trucks up the hill for Badlands, I don't like the twitchiness of my truck with the IFS, but it could also be that I'm going up a pretty vertical climb with the trailer on the back, and I'm already kind of going rear heavy for my truck, so it might be lifting the front end a bit more. I don't know. That's the only gripe I have.
Yeah, that's a weird gripe too.
Going up,
I never really thought about that.
I notice when I have the trailer on, if I get the nose of my truck pretty far in the air, getting into a landing spot or something to go wheeling, it is noticeable that the steering gets lighter. I wonder if the IFS amplifies that.
Maybe.
Because instead of having the... All right, now we're going to get really nerdy here. instead of having the front axle have two pivot points off of the body and having it be linear to the body, it's coming off at a 90 and it's got 2 points that are trying to push down and unload at the same time instead of unloading one side or the other or a whole axle.
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't know. That's what the nerd in me is thinking. So Graham, I know that we had talked a little bit off the podcast while I was doing other stuff this week. What kind of stuff do you want to do to your rig now as a result of that?
Well, first things first, I want to fucking put it back together so I can do stuff,
Okay,
do
nerd.
fun things with it. Uh, but I mean, I really just need to, right, long term, I've always talked about doing uh, a four-link of some kind in the back, whether that be with I really like I've seen it in a few places. Capaldo's rig has it. I don't think Greenleaf has it, but I just think it's a really interesting design with the upper trailing arm. The link setup is odd, right? Because it's almost like and I could be talking out of my ass because I haven't really done a ton of research into it, but based on what I saw on that thing and on the other rigs that I've looked at, the upper link is like from the frame to the outer side of the axle. So it's fairly straight, and the lowers are triangulated more. Not a ton, because you still have to be on the tube. But
So it's how do I describe this? It's basically taking a single or a traditional single triangulated system and flipping it over. Um, and as a result of that, it's got some inherent weird stuff, especially when you're using your upper to mount or hold the body up with, basically, like we were talking about with stainless.
mhm.
Yeah.
Um, but it mathematically makes sense. It works.
Yeah, clearly. I
And
mean, it seemed to be performing pretty well on Capaldo's, but I don't know if I'm still a long ways away from uh putting like anything like that in my rig, and I'm not sure what direction I'd go anyways. I change my mind every fucking day. But um for now, all right, I just want to get the leaf spring sorted out. The leaves that I've got in the thing are pretty good. Um the hand-me-down shocks that I pulled out of Colin's front, I've really never had a problem with those either, right? And after seeing Colin do what he did with, I mean, we've got fairly comparable setups. His leaf springs are technically better than mine, but by how much, I don't know, because, right, his mounting points are all fucked up. But then again, so are mine. So, I mean, if we do get the opportunity to go back out there and my shit isn't completely broken, uh, I, I don't know if I'd change anything initially, because that's one of those things, right? Uh, I want to. Trust me, after just watching that makes me totally want to change up, or not change up what I have, but it definitely made me rethink, um, how I look at suspension, because traditionally, and it's really never, there haven't been any options for us to go and do stuff like that. But if the option continues to be a thing, and we keep, in touch with people who are more interested in doing that sort of thing, I think that's something that I'd be interested in pursuing more, because as much as I like the crawling side of things, I also don't have a full tube buggy. Like, I mean, at this point it sort of is, but it's also not, right? I want to keep it full bodied to some extent. I want it to look like a fucking car. I don't want a Field and Forest tube chassis, at least not right now.
So I would suggest staying away from a racetrack, because I think your chances of rolling on a racetrack are 90 times more likely than rock crawling. Because when you're going faster,
no, but I
more
just
likely
mean
to
like
happen.
performance-wise, my rig will never be like a Field and Forest monster by any means. Like, it's not going to do stuff like that. It will. I can do it, and I'll jam it in dumb places. But right, it's more of a jack of all trades, master of none. It's not great at anything, but I like it. I have a lot of fun with it, and I'd like it to do more than just rock crawling. if I can. So I don't know. It definitely has the wheels turning. For now, I just need to put it together and
go use it.
Yeah, you do stuff. So
do the things.
I also think that there are certain things down the road that are going to need to be considered because, like, you know, you can move the sliders one way or another, but every time you move a slider, you're subtracting from another point. So, but I think that's a good discussion point for another podcast down the road.
Yeah. What do you mean move sliders? Sorry, that's like a weird fucking... Where did that come from?
Like, picture you got 3 sliders: rock crawling, go fast.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. That just came out. I was like, sliders. Rock sliders?
Yeah.
No, I meant like stats. If you
gotcha.
will.
Yeah. So like the performance triangle.
Which as you move one side, you're gonna eventually end up further away from the other, and it's just what you want to do with the rig. I would actually really like to have a bit more of a discussion with that from someone that can explain better. Maybe we get Chris back and Stainless to talk about that. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I'd be interested. That sounds pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, 10 out of 10 would definitely go again. I mean, I think anybody who has any interest of going fast should definitely check out the event. Well worth it. Track seems really fun, really wide open, no do or die jumps, so you can really get comfortable jumping your vehicle if you want to. Plenty of spectating viewing. That's one thing about like other dirt bike tracks I've been to. Like Southwick would absolutely suck because there's very little viewing other than like, I don't know, a quarter, 2 quarters. Maybe a half of the track. So 2 quarters comes out to, if anybody wants to know. But yeah, definitely go check it out next time that they have an event. Well worth the time and effort. And I think spectators were free. Caitlin didn't pay anything, and neither did you, Graham, right?
No, I didn't pay anything. I just signed the waiver, and I got my little orange or my little yellow wristband, and was good to go.
Oh yeah. Well, on that note, seems like we're going to be wrapping it up here. Sorry for being a short episode. Hopefully our conversation about this was enjoyable enough that you got enough out of it within the little bit of time that we had. But thank you guys very much for listening. Please go check us out on Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of stuff. If you have anything question-wise or comment-wise, feel free to DM us on there. We're pretty active sometimes. And on that note, go jump your rig, do some go fast stuff, and have a good night.